Hello, in this video we have two topics we're going to look at. We're going to look at obtaining gas from coal and also the use of ethanol as a fuel source, which will be our kind of introduction to biofuels. And so in the first part of this video, we're going to look at the Fischer-Tropsch trope reaction. One of these is a typo. I think the first one here, I don't think that E is supposed to be there. And then secondly, we'll start looking at biofuels, specifically at ethanol, and kind of as an example of an oxygenated fuel in a biofuel. Okay, and so let's first look at obtaining gasoline from coal. Now, the reason why somebody might want to do this is some places in the world are rich in coal deposits, but maybe not so rich in petroleum or crude oil. Okay, so that's one reason why people might want to turn coal into gas. And also, the reserves of coal in the world they're much more larger than what's left of petroleum and crude oil currently. Okay, and one of the ways we can get, or the way we can get gas from coal is it's a two-step process. The first step is making something called water gas, and the way you do that is you take hot warm coke, and you which comes from coal, and you run hot steam over it, and that produces carbon monoxide and hydrogen gas, and that's called water gas. And you can burn this and actually use it for lighting. And then the second process is the Fischer-Tropsch process, and where you take this water gas, okay, and then in the presence of the catalyst, you can make hydrocarbons such as gasoline and water. And the catalyst is particularly important because the carbon monoxide has a CO triple bond, and it's pretty strong. And so a catalyst will lower the activation energy of this reaction and allow it to occur more readily. Oops. Yeah, there you go. Water. Okay. All right. So another source of fuel that we can consider is biofuels. And for example, ethanol will be the first kind of major class of biofuel we look at. Well, I guess wood is another biofuel, but we're going to focus mostly on ethanol in this video. So biofuels are fuels from renewable sources such as trees or grass or crops like corn. And we have a picture here of ethanol. These black balls are carbon, the white balls are hydrogen, and then this red one is oxygen. So it's C2H6O or C2H5OH, and it has this group here called a hydroxyl group, and that functional group makes this an alcohol. Now, to obtain ethanol from corn, you would do the following process. So first, you take the corn and put it in a vat with water and make corn mash, and you make the soup of it. And once you've done that, then you introduce some enzymes, and enzymes will catalyze the breakdown of the starch molecules in corn to glucose. Okay, so starch is a biological polymer. So a polymer is when you have a bunch of the same molecule kind of stitched together. In this case, glucose, when you stitch it together 300 to 600 times, okay, you can make starch. And you can break that polymer down with enzymes to get glucose. Once you have glucose, what you can do is you can undergo some fermentation. So you can take glucose and use yeast to ferment it to ethanol. And then you can further purify that ethanol via distillation. Okay. Now, ethanol can come from corn, okay, and which is common in the United States. In Brazil, ethanol could come from sugarcane, okay. Ethanol can also come from cellulose, such as corn stalks, switchgrass, wood chips, okay, and other materials that are edible by humans. And so what's nice about switchgrass, okay, is it's a native grass. Okay, so whereas corn, you gotta kind of cut down all the native crops to make it. Here you're starting with something that's native. Okay. Now, ethanol, in addition to being an example of a biofuel, it's also a great example of an oxygenated fuel because it's got an oxygen in there. So now we can compare that to gasoline, which is a hydrocarbon, so just carbon and hydrogen, so it's not oxygenated. And one way we can compare the two is in terms of the energy per gram that's generated. Now, ethanol, if we compare it to octane as kind of a representative hydrocarbon, you're going to see here that ethanol has a lower energy per mole on a molar basis. All right, so 1,240 kilojoules per mole for ethanol versus 5,060 kilojoules per mole for octane. Okay, so less energy per mole out of ethanol. So that you might consider a disadvantage. However, it does have an advantage. Okay, besides, I guess, not being a fossil fuel, which is definitely you could consider that an advantage. Okay, of ethanol over gasoline. Oh, there was supposed to be. Here it is. Okay. So another advantage of ethanol is that it has an increased octane rating, and so that can reduce vehicle emissions. That would produce ground level ozone. Now, it's usually when it's used as a blend. Okay, you can't run an automobile engine off of ethanol just on its own. So it's got usually mostly gasoline and then 10% ethanol. All right, so that is going to conclude our video on turning coal to gasoline and on ethanol. Our next video is going to look at biodiesel and a little bit on kind of evaluating are biofuels a good alternative to fossil fuels or to gasoline. All right. Well, thanks for watching.